Okay, welcome to Computer Science Revision for Year 10. Ready for assessment week 1. One of the first things we looked at was input and output. And we took a look at how every single computer system can be modelled with one diagram. Doesn't matter if it's your smartwatch, whether it's your main PC that you're sat in front of, or whether it's your games console. Every single system will follow this model. They're made up of input devices, whether they're automatic or manual, and every single input device captures something. So whether it is a keystroke from when the keyboard's pressed, whether it is a click from a mouse so it's an instruction, whether it is a temperature, they all go into your computer to be processed. Now, processing takes many forms. This could be searching, this could be sorting, or in fact, this could be storing it as part of your main storage, or retrieving something from your main storage to compare it to. Now, it's worth noting at this point that storage can be on your hard drive. It's not talking about memory, so it's not talking about your RAM or anything. It can be talking about USB sticks, CDs, or DVDs, and it can be labelled in several different ways. So it could be called storage, it could be called main memory. No, it can't. Remember the lesson that you came through. Storage is backing store, it could be secondary storage, or it is just called storage. Never will it be used with the word memory. Okay? Never memory. Okay, so after it's been processed, it's normally output in some way. So this will then send it to an output device. Exactly the same as your input devices, they need to be chosen specifically for kind of the task that they're required for. Does it just need to be displayed on a monitor, like watching on a CCTV camera and seeing the screens? The speakers, does it just need sound, or do I need to be able to see it and hear it as well? Do I want it hard copied, printed out? So do I want a actual printer to print something out for me? Do I need a gear to actually, a motor to move a gear for me so that a door can open? Okay, it's a very dodgy picture of a gear. Never mind. So that's one of the first diagrams we looked at. We then said that there were some special systems which actually fed back into the input device. So with the case of aircon was one of the systems we looked at. Aircon changes the temperature based on whatever input it gets in. So if it reads as too cold, the heater is turned on for the output device, which then affects the temperature of the room. So it then affects the temperature that comes in to the system, which then comes into a massive loop and goes around and around and around. You need to know the different devices and be able to explain whether or not they're input or output, and you do need to be able to talk yourself through that diagram. Right, we then looked at programming for it. One of the ways we looked at it was we took input and output separately, and we took just from a keyboard. So we looked at textual based commands that come in from a keyboard first. So take textual based. It was easier to do this one with Python to begin with, but remember Python can take in other forms of input device. They can read in from a barcode scanner. Python can take input from a camera. Okay, we can take a look at that later on in the year because we can connect them to the Raspberry Pi and see their camera in action and what we can do with it. Do be aware that if you ever use MicroPython with a microbit, you can also have a speech-to-text system working with it as well. So we looked at how we get input from a user when they're using Python and they want them to type in from a keyboard. It uses the command word input, which normally goes purple when we've typed it incorrectly. We've got an open bracket, more appropriately called an open parentheses. We've then got our question within speech marks, and then we close our brackets or close our parentheses. It follows this same suit every single time, but it does change depending on what we want from that input. So if we just want a random input and then check the value, we can just grab the input as part of the if statement, ask them if they want to continue, and if they do, we haven't stored that value anyway. We've used it as part of one if statement, we've never wanted to use it again, and we're done. Okay. However, there's sometimes that we don't just want to keep it as use once and then move on. there's sometimes that we want to ask their name right at the start of the program and use it when they get a high score. So if we ever want to input and we need to use the value again, we're looking at having to store it as part of a variable. So if we get their name and we save the input as name, what's your name? Should have made the box bigger, Marshall. Just fits, honest. If their name is equal to something else, hey Bob, we can print awesome. Okay, but we can use it later in our program. That value is there for us to use for the whole and the time that our program is running and our Python script is running. We then looked at output. And we just wanted to look in the first instinct of output just of that text onto the monitor. And in some ways, it's much easier to use the output side of Python than it is to use the input. But do remember, it can also output more content. It just doesn't have to just do text. It can output sound, it can output monitor beeps, it can output images and everything. Okay, so do be aware that Python doesn't just do text, but that's what we've looked at this term. So we can print any text that we want. Again, our command word this time is print. Again, should go purple to make sure that we've done it right. We open the parentheses, we put our text in speech marks mainly, but as we'll see in a second, it doesn't have to be. So it's what you actually want to output. And then we have to close the parentheses or close the brackets. The first one is to just output text, because if you just want to say something like a welcome message or a congratulations you win or a game over, you just need the print command, the open brackets, the speech marks, say whatever you want to say, close speech marks, close the parentheses. However, if you want to print out just a variable, we don't need those speech marks. So if you've already stored the name of somebody, we don't need to use anything green, any speech marks whatsoever. We just want the name of the variable, badly chosen name there, the identifier for the variable there, inside the brackets. We don't need the speech marks. See what happens when you do put the speech marks, but I promise you, it won't be printing out Bob for you. Lastly, but no means leastly, if you want to combine them, if you want to put a set of text, a set of strings, something you've typed yourself inside those brackets, but you also want to use a variable, you can. So if you've already got the name of the person, and why spoil the habit of a lifetime and still use Bob, we can put that within the same bracket, but we need to separate it by a comma. So it'll now say welcome, comma, name, or welcome Bob when it's printed out. Needs to have the comma there. Should be in black, should be outside of the speech marks. Oops, missed the bottom of that box. There we go. You can have as many commas as you want. It doesn't make a difference. So this is end of video 1. Okay, I would strongly recommend anybody watching it to make notes or flashcards on the topics that we've just gone through. So the diagram, talking yourself through it, or input and output devices as separate things. What I would strongly suggest, and it isn't a you must do this one, to maximize your use of time on your revision, why not download Python? There's a video online on this channel that will tell you how to install it. I've missed an L there, which is always useful. Download, install Python, and give it a go. Okay. There we go. I have fixed it. There's a guide on the channel, so please don't worry about it. Do get parental permission, though, if it is not your computer. Okay. Try to follow the challenges. First challenge, and it's the only challenge on the end of this video which will help you out, is all about magic. Well, it's about a magic 8-ball. It's about predicting the future based on a question you have. And if you've ever seen it, it's a small black ball with the number 8 on it. And it has a screen where once you've asked it a question, you can shake the ball around. It then tries to predict your answer or predict the future from that question. So you can ask it, will it rain today? You shake it about the Magic 8-Ball screen. Oh, because it's all black. Not likely. Yes, it's going to be a nice dry day. Brilliant. It's not actually that simple as far as coding is concerned, because we just randomly generate a number. So we basically enter a question, we generate a random number which generates the answer, and then we display the answer. And then we finished. Done. Okay, a little bit more of a hint, because you might want it to actually loop back up. And the command words you're going to need are input, import, and print. To give you a clue, you're going to need an if, elif, else situation going on there, so you might want to wait until the next video, but the challenge 1 should definitely be able to get the input and the print statements ready. Good luck, and over to you.